Okay, well, we can start. Well, I'm sure more people will join as we go. Introductions. What fictional world or place would you like to visit? And I am not going to go first, but I will take a volunteer for first. Phyllis.
I would love to go to Pandora from Avatar.
Do you want to plug into the horse thing?
There you go. and soar over the greenness and with blue people.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
That's a really good answer.
Yeah, that was a great movie.
Who wants to go next?
I have no answer.
Meredith.
I don't know how many people remember the game Myst, but I want to go to the island of Myst. They did write books about it too, but playing the game is what really, the opening sequence is you're panning in on this island and there's like this tree with a cabin, but then they have this like Greek library and a planetarium. And it's so gorgeous looking. And it came out in the 90s. So the fact that it was just this so amazing looking thing, even back then. And I just personally, I love the library in there because there was like secret passages and stuff. It was really cool. So yeah, if I could go anywhere, it'd totally be the island of Myst.
Wow.
Now I'm like looking at my books. I'm like, who wants to go next? Susan.
Everybody's going to say Harry Potter, so I'm not going to say Harry Potter. But I would go to Hogwarts. But actually, I would go to Landover from the Magic Kingdom of Landover. It's an old kids book series. Super fun. Yeah, if you haven't read them. And Myst, by the way, Meredith, that's a great choice. I played those games. They're super fun.
Cool. All right. There's not many of us, so I'm taking volunteers. Wendy.
I guess Rivendell from Lord of the Rings. Or
Yeah.
the Shire would be nice too. I guess you sort of can almost visit that in New Zealand,
But would you want to go to the Shire after Sauron is gone? Because I don't know. I mean, it doesn't burn to the ground. I don't know. I think about certain things and I'm like, yeah, but do I really want to go there? Because it seems dangerous, Okay, for those of you just joining us, we are talking about what fictional world or place would you like to visit? Karen, do you have an answer?
I'm going to have to go with pre-COVID world.
Fair enough.
I got
Is
one.
it really fictional? I guess it is at this point. Leah?
I would like to go with the Doc and Back to the Future and look back. Yeah, in that car and all of that, and be able to come back.
DeLorean.
Fun. Catherine, what about you?
Maybe indoor? Those Ewoks are really cute.
That's a good answer. Although they might try and put you on a spit roast.
Right.
Hello.
Lori, where would you like to go?
Well, when my daughter was little, we loved reading the Little House on the Prairie books. So I think I'd like to visit the Little House on the Prairie and see what that was like.
That's a great answer. Wendy, you didn't hear my explanation for what?
Oh, well, I got cut off after when you were saying I'd let you, about after you started talking about the Shire burning down, and then it's all right.
It's fine. Mary?
Wow, I don't know, because I think you're right. A lot of places seem dangerous, but like, Narnia or maybe just Shangri-La.
What is Shangri-La? I've always
I'm
kind of wondered.
I understand it to be just like a place where everything's happy and everything's good.
Oh,
That's my
okay,
understanding of it. Yeah.
that sounds nice. Geez, I don't know what I would pick. I was thinking something more realistic. I don't know, but I did think about Narnia,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I think Aslan would scare me. So I've been rewatching Beverly Hills 90210. Maybe I would go and hang out with them at their college and watch
used
the
to watch
shenanigans.
There
And
you go.
I could
I
watch
know
Brandon
that
Walsh try and
series.
solve problems. You know,
Yeah.
it'd be fun. Why not?
Especially the problems they have. They were so not serious.
They were not real. It's like, y'all. Okay. Correspondence. We got a really nice note from Robin Dewey just thanking us for our contribution for the Ruby Award. We sent $500 to Team Davis, so that was nice.
Yeah.
And then rolling right into it, there are a few PowerPoints on the SIA website about Soroptimist history, and so I wanted to share the one about the first club and kind of how it started and who some of the women were who were in the club and kind of how it went. So I'm going to share that. Okay, everyone can see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. So most of you probably know, but maybe some of you don't, that Soroptimist was actually founded by a man named Stuart Morrow. But while he may have undertaken the original work to actually form a club of women from the professions and business in Alameda County, it was the women themselves who gave Morrow the idea and who actually worked together with him to establish the first Soroptimist Club in Alameda County, California. As the club moved through its establishment, this first club provided a template that many newly chartered clubs would later emulate. This is an introduction to some of the women who helped found the Soroptimist Club of Alameda County.
Those dresses are fabulous.
Yes. Yeah. I was just thinking the same thing.
There are some great pictures in here. So Stuart Morrow was an early Rotary member, and he organized Rotary clubs beginning in 1905. He was a lawyer originally from Ireland, and he later moved to the United States. He visited the Parker Goddard Secretarial School in Oakland, California, in the hopes of finding more men to join a service club. Whether he was trying to form a Rotary club or had moved his affiliations over to Optimist clubs, as some of the early Soroptimist members suggested in an oral history, is not known for certain. However, he was surprised when he arrived and found that the school was owned by two women, Adelaide Goddard and Mabel Parker. Adelaide Goddard told Morrow that if men's service clubs ever opened membership to women, she would sign up. This gave Morrow the idea to organize service clubs for women. Both Mabel Parker and Adelaide Goddard became charter members of the first Soroptimist Club. And that's Adelaide Goddard right there. From his years of organizing clubs, Stuart had connections with Rotary and the Chamber of Commerce. They were able to help Morrow find the women that he met with, and many others who joined the charter through the summer of 1921. The organizational meetings were held at the Venus Cafe in Oakland on Broadway Street. Recruiting the first charter members was a collaboration between Morrow, working his connections, and the growing number of women who became the early members reaching out in their networks. Each week, more local women would be invited as speakers to a meeting, and if the group thought she would be a good fit, she was invited to join the club. And there's Stuart Morrow. Similar to Rotary, the new club looked for members working in a high-ranking position in their field and gathered to learn about each other's professions and businesses and be of a service to their fellow members and their communities. The original members worked in a variety of fields, including medicine, food service, clothing, personal care, and printing. A diverse membership would become something very important to Soroptimist as the original club was formed, and as they formed more clubs later. Gladys Barndollar was a major asset for Stuart Morrow. She used her connections as the owner of a local printing business to bring other interested women to the organizational meetings. So the Alameda Country Club set membership criteria as each member was from a different profession or vocation and held an important rank. The $15 initiation fee and dues that members paid in 1921 is the equivalent to $260 in 2020. So we're actually getting a pretty good deal, y'all. Membership could be lost if there were multiple absences from meetings, meaning if you missed 5 out of 9 meetings, you were out. Illnesses and business reasons were excused. Members were assigned as captains to help build bonds and rapport between members. If a member needed to be absent at any time, she would advise her captain. I think that's pretty, I mean, well, I guess it's less than 50% attendance, but it still seems pretty strict to me. I don't know. And here is Gladys Barndollar's application from June 11th, 1921. Soroptimist.
Interesting, she called.
I'm sorry?
It's interesting, she called her printing profession multi-graphing.
Oh yeah, good point. I didn't even notice that. Go back to that so everyone can see. Multi-graphing. Okay.
They would set all the type by hand.
Good for them. That would be too much for me. I would mess up one letter, you know.
And they had already lived through their pandemic in 1918.
Yes, it was recent. Good point. So the name for Soroptimist came about sometime in their initial meetings in the summer of 1921 at the Venus Cafe. Some secondary sources in the Soroptimist archives credit Morrow for coming up with the name, although it could have been a member who initially suggested the idea. So Soror plus Optima, meaning best for women. And I don't know if you all have seen, this is our, I think this is the cover on our Soroptimist page now, this picture, isn't it? On our Facebook page.
Yeah.
And the hat that she's wearing with like the big sunbeam thing is fantastic. We should really make one of those cars. Make a float. It'd be fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Morrow incorporated Soroptimist in California on August 21st, 1921. The club charter was closed and the club's board of directors was elected about a month later on September 26th. Regular club meetings were held a week after the chartering dinner beginning on October 10th. Morrow had stated that he intended for the club and subsequent clubs to operate independently once it was organized. The agenda for the first meeting reflects this philosophy, as that meeting was an open forum led by the president, Violet Richardson. They spoke about the aims and ideals of the club and what they stand for in their community. These early Soroptimists were constrained by one of Morrow's conditions, which would have been all too common for those times. Members had to be white women. It's interesting that as we trace the history of Soroptimist, once Morrow was no longer involved in the organization, this condition was removed. In fact, a number of clubs repudiated the condition once they were chartered and operating independently from Morrow. And that is actually one of the things that I knew a lot of this already, but that's one of the things that I learned that I wasn't aware of, that originally was only a club for white women.
Yeah.
I think it was still women, probably, right?
Probably. Yeah, they don't talk about when men were allowed to become members in this, so I'm not sure when that happened, but they can be. Violet Richardson was elected president after 3 rounds of voting. Violet said that the caliber of the membership was such that any of those 80 women could well have been selected as president. And there's the board of directors. Violet's bylaws from 1922 show that there were 5 committees, including vocational, education, publicity, programs, auditing, and hospitality. So at the beginning of the club, the first thing they needed to do was create a constitution and bylaws. And Eloise Cushing was a lawyer who played a major role in drafting the constitution and bylaws. As other clubs were chartered, she helped these clubs to prepare their own governing documents using the Alameda County Club documents as the framework. Emily D. Wilkie also worked on the bylaws and was a valued member of Soroptimist. Violet Richardson Ward said that she could have held any office in the club, but preferred helping others to function successfully. I believe Emily D. Wilkie assisted in many ways towards the success of our first Federation magazine. There she is. Okay, so club meetings. They were held weekly on Mondays in the Blue Room of the Hotel Oakland. And at the beginning, the club members decided that they would be referred to by their first name as opposed to Miss, Mrs., or even Doctor in their surname. This tradition has continued down through Soroptimist history. So for example, if you are referring to like the governor of our region, you refer to her as Governor Sarah, not Governor Carrasco. And that I assume that that tradition came from this. Violet Richardson's first president's report stated that we began and closed on time and have continued that practice throughout our charter year. Timeliness was important to the women of the first club. Many of the speakers were members because they believed it was important to educate the group on the work their fellow Soroptimists were doing. On November 14th, 1921, Nellie Drake spoke about her profession, catering. And from the agenda, you can see the first speaker was Professor H.B. Wilson, who was a connection from Violet Richardson. He was the superintendent of the Berkeley schools. So who were the members of the first Soroptimist Club? Women of the first club came from all different occupations and backgrounds with many different interests and skills. Together, they would form the blueprint of the earliest Soroptimist clubs. All members were required to be active in the club in some manner, whether as officers or on the club's committees. Some of the members would go on to serve in other clubs and help to spread Soroptimist.
Which one was Violet? Oh, there she is.
Yep, there's Violet. So I think that's Violet standing, I believe. Let's look. Hard to tell, but that's what I think. An unmarried professional woman at the time the Alameda County Club was chartered, Violet was recommended for membership by the head of the California State Department of Physical Education as an outstanding woman in the health and physical education field. Violet saw a lot of barriers for professional women and remarked on how many people, even other women, did not want to hire women. Her involvement in the community and accomplishments outside of Soroptimist were vast. She received a BA and MA in Education and Science from the University of California. She wrote large portions of the California State Manual on Physical Education, worked towards legislation for better physical fitness programs in schools, worked on executive board for Girl Scouts, and she served as president of the Berkeley Teachers Association for 2 terms. And an interesting fact is she only would sign the charter if once she got Morrow's word that Soroptimist would go international, that it wouldn't stay local. So she definitely had big plans for this club and this organization. The woman behind the bylaws was Eloise Cushing. She was one of the first Soroptimist members who was not originally invited to the club. An invitation was sent to her coworker who was not able to attend, so she offered it to Eloise. After attending the meeting, she asked how much it was to join and paid on the spot. Years later, her expertise was essential to helping purchase the rights for Soroptimist from Stuart Morrow and put the ownership of the clubs in the hands of the women. Soon after, she was heavily involved in drafting the first federation bylaws. And there's Eloise Cushing. Helena M. Gamble was the club organizer and historian. And I'm not sure if it's Helena or Helena, but I'm guessing Helena. Helena Gamble served as the secretary when the club was chartered, and she was on the publicity committee. She was paid as the secretary, which was controversial among some of the early members. When Stuart Morrow left to organize other clubs outside California, he hired Helena to help him organize clubs in California. She helped to charter the Sacramento and Long Beach clubs. She did a great job. She saved a lot of the earliest documents, and so we have a lot of history thanks to her because she, grabbed those things and kept them safe. And she also collected histories and wrote them down. And so some of the other people who were in the first club, many other women made up the first Soroptimist club. Many segments of professional activities and businesses in the Alameda County area were represented in this new club. Although women in medicine was not usual in the 1920s, there were a number of women in medicine that became members of the club. Sarah I. Shuey, MD, served as the first woman president of the Alameda Contra Costa Medical Association, and as near as can be determined from a nationwide survey of medical societies, was the first female president of any medical society in the United States. And you can see not only were there women in the medical profession, but there were women in clothing, owning stores, cleaning clothes, things like that. The arts were an area that many women worked in, and in this segment contributed members to the new club, including the visual and performing arts. Helena Gamble kept a copy of one of the songs Hannah C. Coates published, called Song of the Bird, among her historical papers that are now in the Soroptimist archives. The club's members also illustrated the depths to which women were engaged in all facets of business, including the intriguing inclusion of a railroad president among its members. Meta Erickson had served as the president of the Amador Central Railroad for 9 years when she became a charter member of the Alameda Club. At the time, she was the only woman railroad president in the world.
Nice.
And, you know, I read these things and I find it pretty interesting that living in the same area was the only woman railroad president in the world and the first female president of the medical society, of any medical society. Like, you have to wonder, you know, was this a special area that really supported women in business, or were there women like this all over the place and we just don't know them, you know, they just aren't recognized? You have to wonder, I mean, what are the odds? You know what I mean?
It might be the latter, and Soroptimist gave visibility to these women, provided visibility.
Correct. I also think that we can take into account that this area, I think, valued education, you know, Berkeley and that area. So, you know, the better educated people are, the more successful they are generally. So. Women in the Alameda County area were also fully engaged in financial business, with 2 members working in different areas of insurance. And in addition to Violet Richardson, Adelaide Goddard, and Mabel Parker, a number of members were engaged in various facets of secondary, vocational, and higher education. Given that women were traditionally identified with life revolving around the hearth and home, it is no surprise that a number of Alameda County's charter members were engaged in food service businesses, as well as endeavors to both physically maintain and decorate homes. And there's Hattie Lenhart, who was a confectioner proprietor. I guess she had a sweet shop. If I had to guess.
These titles are amazing.
Yeah, like what they did. Great. Actually, what is that one? Automatic water heaters. Cool.
Yeah.
During its first year in existence, through 1922, there were 22 new members who joined the Alameda County Club after the charter, while 14 charter members resigned. Although the club did not delve deeply into service work until later in 1922, they did host a fashion show, the Berkeley Banquet, where Soroptimists working in food service businesses showed off their culinary skills. Yeah, I find it interesting that, well, they chartered with 80 members, so 14 resigning. Yeah, I mean, it's almost a quarter of them, you know? So it's about 20%. It's quite a few. I wonder what made them resign. I wonder if it was cost prohibitive or time or
health even too.
Right, exactly.
They all look like our grandmothers and great-grandmothers.
Although you look at pictures from this time, and I don't know why, but I always felt like people look older than they actually are in these historical pictures. So I really have no idea how old some of these women are. You know, they could be 60 or they could be 80 or 50 or I don't know. Also, if you were blonde in a black and white photo, your hair looks great. You know, so.
Yeah, I think they're younger than that.
I mean, I think the one in the middle, I don't know, she looks like 35, but.
In the top, the first 3 in the top, they're all quite a bit younger than I am.
Are you going left to right?
I was going left to right.
Yeah, they do look very young. As you look closely at them.
Right.
And the woman on all the way on the right with, I guess what you'd call marled hair. I wonder how they did that.
Oh, the finger waves?
Yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah,
Product.
it's curlers, and then they literally form them with hairspray, as far as I know. Is how you do that.
Marcel, isn't it?
Oh, it's Marcel. Yes, you're right.
Mhm.
I got close.
Okay, moving on. Violet credits Mr. Monroe Deutsch, Vice President of the University of California, for suggesting the club be more than a friendship and lunch club, and also add a service component to their endeavors. After the club was on sound footing, the members turned their attentions to developing service opportunities, in 1922. One of their first women-focused projects was in collaboration with the YWCA. They established a vocational guidance bureau, interviewing young girls to help them figure out what job opportunities they could pursue. Eloise Cushing helped to head this committee. This bureau also eventually became part of the California Employment Bureau. They also provided heating equipment to a local rescue home and focused on providing relief to destitute families during the holiday season. The club also started advocacy work that affected professional women. In 1923, they wrote letters to the governor, who wanted to slash women's industrial farms budget, and President Violet Richardson and other Soroptimists supported the 8-hour workday bill. They also became involved in environmental advocacy to help save the ancient California redwood forests. These earliest projects would provide a template for other Soroptimist clubs as they were chartered to undertake service work that benefited women and girls and focused on the local community, as well as people and communities beyond Alameda County. Morrow always intended each club to be self-sufficient and independent. Morrow moved on to charter clubs in San Francisco and Los Angeles in 1922 and traveled east after that. When he left California, he granted general power to run the incorporated Soroptimist business in California to the presidents of the 3 California clubs, Violet Richardson, Fannie William of the San Francisco Club, and Oda Falconer of the Los Angeles Club. Morrow also hired Helena Gamble to do additional chartering work. Some felt it wasn't right she was paid for this work, but in the end, this made it easier for her to travel and set up clubs, while the other members were tied to their local communities and their own jobs and businesses. Eventually, in 1928, the Alameda County Club changed its name to Oakland when a new Soroptimist club, also in Alameda County, was chartered in Berkeley. Through the efforts of an expanding band of Soroptimist members and Stuart Morrow, Soroptimists began to spread across North America and Europe. In 1928, club delegates gathered in Washington, D.C. to form an organization from all the independent Soroptimist clubs in North America and Europe, which became known as the Soroptimist International Association, and what we now know as Soroptimist International. The American Federation of Soroptimist Clubs, now called Soroptimist International of the Americas, was also formed at this meeting. The work of these earliest founding members, coming from many different professions and businesses throughout Alameda County, set the stage for all the Soroptimist clubs that followed through to the present day. And you can see in this picture, it is a group of Soroptimists at the White House during the 1928 convention.
Who is president then?
1928?
Yeah.
Hoover. No,
Was it Harding?
I was gonna, or
Who was the one when during the Depression that they named the homeless camps after?
that was Hoover,
That was
Hooverville.
Hoover.
Yeah. Look, well, let me see. Who took over from Hoover? Was it Roosevelt?
I think so.
And Roosevelt died in 1945, and he served 13
Three
years.
terms.
He had just started his fourth, right? He served like 13 years, so I don't know, 44 minus 12, 32. So yeah, it was probably Hoover or whoever was before Hoover, depending on the time of year. So much greenery there. I don't think there are that many trees. Well, no, there aren't that many trees around the White House now because you probably can't have them for security purposes. I mean, like there's no fences or anything.
Yeah, fear of
It's amazing.
assassins.
Back then, anyone could just
Very
walk
different.
into the White House. You could just go. Oh, speaking of, they took down the fencing in Lafayette Park, the park that's right in front of the White House. They finally took down all that ugly fencing. I don't know if you knew it was there.
Oh, good.
Yes, it just happened. It's very exciting.
Good news.
They got their park back. So before I stop sharing, does anyone want to revisit anything or talk about any particular slide? Does anyone have anything? Meredith?
I love the idea of a club historian, and even if it's not like a formal position or anything, because like Leah, I don't know if you remember, but the 65th anniversary party and all like the cool stuff you bought with the
Yeah.
cookbook, and that was what inspired me to do the cookbook. And
Yeah.
there were some recipes from there that I still didn't do. Like I love that kind of stuff. I admit, library nerd totally makes sense.
Yeah.
But if there's more of that stuff that we could like, I don't know, put on our website and share, I think that really adds to the richness of a club's story and it individualizes one club from another. So I love that stuff. Give it to me to catalog. Let me put it online. It
got
should
a
be
box.
preserved.
Yeah, there was a role for that. Like Phyllis Haig was that club
Yeah.
historian for many years, and I think it just kind of and I don't think that was I don't think that was a board position, but she just and she had tons of like everything was hard copy scrapbooks and stuff, and
I love that.
and I don't know what happened since then, but I think it kind of died with her.
There was talk about like immediate past president being the historian for that year. I don't know how well that's going.
It's going.
I'll let you know how it's going in July.
Yeah. You know, I must say I have, flyers from all my organizations. And the one thing that I regret is that, come to the good soup auction, good fellowship night. They give you a date, but they don't give you the year. So 10 years down the road, you can't remember what year it was. Little bit of history that got lost.
Mm.
I'm wondering if we should check in with Andrea or Janice Labadie to see, because club presidents used to keep a scrapbook of their year.
Yeah, Andrea has 2 big scrapbooks. Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah, and if we're wanting to collect our documented history,
I mean,
lot
I
of
have
us-
a ton of stuff here that
I have a lot of stuff from and information from the year I was president.
yeah.
I'm sure each of our ex-presidents do. If we want to make that a collective project for our club history.
I love making
Especially if it means
scrapbooks.
we could scan it and get rid of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. I'm sure Andrea wouldn't mind her scrapbook being torn apart. Her 2 big ones.
I feel like it almost need to be a designated person in like a continuing role that's not, it's like a committee chairperson that's not necessarily a board position, but and not somebody that changes every year, because that's what happens is it just kind of, yeah, you need somebody like Phyllis who's really committed to, to
Yeah.
history. Yeah.
Yeah,
He was.
yeah.
I think that's an excellent idea, Wendy. Maybe, I don't know how you propose that.
Yeah.
For a club historian and a helping committee to help pull it's a lot of work for one person, but if we could get a committee together, that might make it doable.
Maybe we could talk about it at the next retreat a little bit. See what people think. Or
Yeah,
at one of the business meetings in the summer when there's not much else going on, or,
Ooh, I like that idea.
yeah.
Mhm.
So, did anyone else have any other reactions or things that you found interesting or
I thought it was
surprising?
interesting that they only let one woman from each profession join.
That was pretty typical of the service clubs, I think. I remember Rotary had something like that as well.
Yeah.
Up to very recently. So what they do is they get very, very creative in how they parsed the profession. And you saw that there was life insurance and there was regular insurance. And if they
Right.
had another insurance person they wanted, they would have figured it out. I was wondering about Violet Richardson. PE teacher, single woman. It's possible she was groundbreaking in other ways too.
You think? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it said unmarried at the time, so I didn't know if, well, her,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
she may have gotten married later.
Richardson Ward, what did she marry? Was Ward her husband or?
probably,
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
although that certainly doesn't mean anything in regards to what Catherine was saying, especially
Right.
back then.
Which we'll never know.
I just thought it was interesting how many like doctors and dentists and these really, professions where you really had to have a lot of schooling that I just don't think of, I think of there being like one or two women in, in the whole country in 1920 that's a doctor, you know what I mean?
They had to fight for it.
And oh, I know. And the railroad, she's superintendent, president.
President.
It's like, what? I would never have guessed that. So I just thought the
probably
professions were interesting.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, Phyllis, go ahead.
She probably came from a family with money who owned the railroad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a sexist thing to say, but probably
Probably true.
typical of the time.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's part of the reason they were so interested in joining a club of
Yeah.
other women who were in similar circumstances
Right.
that they could let down their hair on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my grandmother in it would have been the late teens, early 1920s, owned a, what is that? Where you do Morse code for,
Like telegraph.
telegraph. She owned a telegraph school. She was like the head person.
Oh,
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. But so I've always felt very proud of that. But it was just interesting to see how many women, and this is just like one, small area. I don't know, fascinating.
And a lot of small business owners, quite diverse in their areas of expertise. That was really neat to see as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the fact that there were 80 professional women in Alameda County in 1920
Yeah.
who wanted to join this
Yeah.
means that there were more than that who, and
Mhm.
like Mary said, you think about the 20s and you either think about flapper girls or you think about
Yeah.
married women or you think about prohibition, like there's no, you don't
Right.
think about women owning businesses.
Yeah. Well, it's like the lost histories of women from time immortal. It's just,
It's a lot to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very good, Evie. Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you for
thank
sharing
you. That
with
was so interesting.
Oh,
Very
I'm
good.
glad. I'm glad. This is one of those ones that it's nice. I mean, it's nice to do a PowerPoint, I guess, by Zoom, but this would have been nice in person to be able to see the pictures on the big screen and everything. But I mean, we're recording it, so hopefully people can look at it later.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should send it out in the next newsletter or something so that people, with the link to watch the recording and because some of our newer and joining members would probably really like to hear the history.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. That is the plan.
And a quick point, Calvin Coolidge was president before Hoover. And Hoover was the last elected Republican president until 1952. I think.
And when was the transition
From
Coolidge to Hoover?
Coolidge to Hoover in 1928, I think.
That would have been the election, but they probably did inauguration. I think they were still doing inaugurations.
I don't know when they were
early
doing
spring then, maybe. I don't know. They changed the inauguration date around. It's been in March. It's been.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, do we have any committee reports? Anything anyone wants to share?
I had one request. A week from Friday, the hands-on committee is going to be doing the assembly of the hygiene kits. And one thing that we're short on is dental floss. So I just wanted to put it out there. If anybody had any of those little ones from their dentist, or if anybody had a contact dentist that they could ask if they wanted to, donate some to our club or something. If you had some, you could let me know and I could pick them up, or you could drop them here. But that's what we're looking for right now.
And we need a lot, right? Like,
yeah, we need like 100 or so.
Ooh.
Yeah, so.
I'm just finishing up the anti-trafficking inventory. I've had a lot of family things going on, so it's kind of hit stop and go and stop and go. I do have some dental floss that I'll be in touch, Lori. That I can.
Great, thank you, Phyllis. That's good. Yeah, they were out of it at the dollar store, so we weren't going to be able to get it there, and so that's why we thought we'd put the word out to club members.
Okay.
Do they usually have it at the dollar store? Because I can check the one in West Davis.
It looked like we would be able to order it online, but they wouldn't have it in until after our date of assembly. But if you were over that way, you could run in and look.
Okay.
I believe Elaine went to the one over in East Davis.
That would make sense.
We have more than one dollar store?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, there's a Dollar General and a dollar store. So there's
Dollar Tree.
Dollar Tree.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think the one in West Davis was a Dollar General and it is now a Dollar Tree, I believe.
They merged.
And I think Dollar General is over in Woodland now. And there's
fun
two Dollar
fact,
Trees.
even on Sunday, you can get a Sacramento bee for $1.
Oh,
Wow.
Oh, really?
that's pretty funny.
So if you're in the area, it's, it'll save you $1.25 to stop.
That's a good deal.
Karen, you have your hand up?
Yeah, guys, I was just going to ask, I'm looking, I'm just trying to understand the hygiene packs. Do you guys need like single-use packets? Because I'm just, there's 20-inch strands of floss, 180 count on Amazon for $17. I'm more than happy to buy them. Is that something you need? Or are you looking for a pack of dental floss that they can carry around?
Well, I'm not sure I understand. So these are just like floss strands that are in a big bulk pack?
Naked floss.
They're
Floss, yeah.
it's actual floss and it's in like a little paper pack. Does that make sense? It says
You mean each piece of floss is in an individual paper pack?
absolutely, yes.
Oh, well, that could work. I'll look it up myself.
In the chat, maybe if we saw.
Yeah, that could be helpful. I can order it myself, Karen, but I didn't know about that. That could work. What we were thinking of was the little ones that you get at the dentist,
The
you know,
little
that have like
samples you
40
get.
yards or something.
Yeah, no, I know what you're thinking of. And Carol gave the idea the other night that she got a dentist to donate a box of them, like 30, but I was just thinking you obviously need 100. Instead of me or someone going to the dentist and paying the dentist for that. The hygiene packs have like single use or, you know, several use shampoo sizes and things, that the floss singles might be a good fit.
Yeah, I'm going to look that up. Thank you for that idea.
Okay, great.
And when is your assembly date again?
We're doing it on the 21st. It's a week from this Friday. So yeah, if you have some, I'd be happy to pick them up, Phyllis.
Okay.
Okay, does anyone have anything else that they want to share? Karen, you have your hand up again.
Karen forgot to take her hand down, sorry.
Okay.
I have a question.
Sure.
Any word on the big day of giving, or is it too soon to calculate?
Oh, well, I'm glad you brought that up. So through actual big day of giving, it was a little over 17,000. That includes our matching.
Wow.
However, I personally had at least 3 people say, oh, I missed it. Can I send money now? And you can't through big day of giving, but we decided, and I put it in the newsletter, that anything that comes through PayPal from big day of giving through, I don't remember what day we decided. I don't know, through like,
I think we decided like through the 23rd or something.
yeah, something like that. Any money, we're just going to put that towards big day of giving, and all of those donors will also get swag. So I know that we've gotten at least $1,000 that way since then, but I think more actually. So our total is over 18 now, and maybe we'll get to 20, which would be great.
Awesome.
Fabulous.
Because 20 is what we actually budgeted for. We were hoping for 25, but 20 is what we budgeted for. So that would be great if we could get there.
Is it just PayPal, or could we do a credit card?
If you just do the donate button on our website, it'll take you to PayPal, and I think you use a credit card then.
Okay.
Or whatever.
You can use whatever form of payment you prefer with PayPal. They accept basically everything, and possibly including Bitcoin.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, cool. Well, do we have any other announcements, or does anyone have anything happy they want to share? Lori?
I'm happy that I found out last week my daughter got her first vaccine, and she'll be fully vaccinated about the 1st of June. So I can go visit her then.
Nice.
Stay in her house and not wear a mask. So I'm excited about that. And also today's my dad's birthday, and he's 93 years old.
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
That's great. Does he live locally?
He lives in Foster City near San Francisco. I'm going to go on the weekend and visit him and with my brother.
Actually near Redwood City.
Yeah, it's south of the airport, so
Yeah.
near Redwood City.
Redwood City.
Oh, that'll be great. How fun.
Yes. We'll be able to have dinner with him indoors without masks also, because my brother and I are now fully vaccinated as well. So that'll be a nice celebration.
Yes, you'll be able to see each other's faces. Nothing like it.
It's been a long time.
My son called me on Mother's Day. He did receive a prompt from John. His car hasn't worked in months, and he hasn't gotten around to fixing it because most of the time he doesn't need it because he doesn't go anywhere. But he did get his first shot, and the way he had to do it is he took an Uber to the car. It was a drive-through at the Coliseum in Oakland. So he took an Uber to the car rental place, rented a truck so he could go do the drive-through, and then had to take the truck back to the car rental place and get home.
Wow.
But he got his first shot.
Wow.
Good process.
Funny.
I have one announcement. Our family is all vaccinated now. And last weekend, all our kids and grandkids and my sister-in-law and her husband, we all got together without masks for the first time in over a year and a half. And it was just so nice to see everybody's face and to give each other a hug. We got together because we could, and also our oldest son leaves for his job at Sanofi. He'll be moving to Paris, and it's an open-ended move. So, and that happens the end of this month. So we have a place to go in Paris whenever they let Americans into Europe again.
That's
that
nice that you
sounds
guys
great.
got to see each other and hang out before he leaves.
Yes, it
You
was
know.
great.
It's really good. Well, I'm happy. If you're on the board, you know, I had this crazy all over my body, like hives, rash, itching thing. And it was like for 3 days, was sleeping with ice packs and it was awful. And right after the board meeting, I went into my bathroom to like get something. I opened my medicine cabinet, to get cortisone to slather on my body before I could get that lotion. I look at my medicine cabinet and I realized I hadn't taken my daily allergy pill in probably weeks. I changed up my nighttime routine. I guess I just dropped it off the menu. So I immediately took one, and within like 45 minutes, I was totally fine.
Oh, wow. That's such a relief. I was going to ask you about that. That's great.
It was so, I was like, I'm almost embarrassed to share this with people. So anyhow, I'm all good to go now, and that's good. So I didn't even need to buy the lotion, which is good.
That's great.
Taking your meds.
And now I'll never forget that pill again. Oh,
Won't.
awful. Anywho, does anyone else have anything? Wendy?
I'm kind of shocked that my youngest is 21 as of a couple days ago, and I don't get to go out with him because he's in Hawaii, but he might be coming home in July if he can't go to Japan, which looks likely for about a month, because he still has not seen his girlfriend who he's been together with for like 4 years, and he hasn't seen her for the last year and a half, except on Zoom and FaceTime or whatever. And then on Mother's Day, my husband and I decided to get blow up paddle boards from Costco for our Mother's Day / Father's Day gifts to each other. So, and or taking a couple little mini vacations to Mammoth end of this month, and then in August to Bend. And those are both places we would rent one anyway. So excited to try those out. It was too windy last weekend to use them. So hopefully this weekend.
Fun. Anyone
I
else?
got one for,
Go ahead, Mary.
I got a stand-up paddleboard blow up one for Christmas. Very happy, but I haven't gotten to use it yet. Because like, where do you go in winter with the paddleboard? I don't know. I'm going to go to Donna.
We're going to go to Puda Creek to Lake Solano.
Oh, okay.
It's the closest thing to.
Okay, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Is it still a lake? It still has water?
Apparently, as of, people are posting. I joined a Facebook group and stuff. And so.
Good.
That's good. Go now while there's still water.
Yeah.
Yeah, but last time I flew into Sacramento, I looked down and saw what's left of Folsom Lake. It's a mud bed.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's low. You can't. Okay, well, on that happy note, let's go ahead and move on with our days. It was so nice to see everyone. Thanks for coming. And our business meeting is next week. And then on June 2nd, instead of our Zoom social happy hour, we're actually going to go to the farmer's market and hang out. And it's very exciting, and everyone should come. And technically it should only be Soroptimist, but anyway.
So I saw on the Evite, it was at 4.
4 to 7, yeah, 4 to whenever. Show up whenever you want. I'll probably be there at like 3:45.
Well, yeah, the market hours are 3 to 6 and they stop selling food at 7. They're
Okay.
supposed, yeah, they worked out an agreement to keep going till 7, but that's about it.
Okay, good to know. All right,
Sounds
great.
fun.
All right, nice to see everybody.
Everybody,
Coming.
bye.
Bye.